The term Christian can apply to anything from what you believe about God to a government to a genre of music. But what is it supposed to mean? In this week's talk, we'll learn why the early church used a different term and what that teaches us about the meaning of following Jesus.
How many of you guys have ever had a gym membership in your life? Anybody? YMCA, Planet Fitness? Yeah, Titan Fitness. There's so many different options in the area, all good options. What if we made a brand new option, North Park Gym? Imagine that. If we became a gym, we're not, by the way, this is just virtually, right? That would be cool. Like some of you guys, it costs a lot of money. Imagine we had a gym here and one of your friends came to you and said, dude, you've got to try my new gym, North Park Gym. It's way better than all of these others. We have a totally different approach to fitness. If your friend told you, you see, you've heard no pain, no gain. That's not what we do around here. Here, our slogan is no sweat, no sweat. No problem. You don't want to work out, you don't have to. You just come and belong. It's great. We hire professional exercisers, and once a week we come and we watch them exercise, and they inspire us toward fitness. And then we hire professional dietitians, and once a week they come and they teach us recipes, and we write them down. Well, that's cool. Which one's your favorite recipe? We don't cook them. We just write them. I have a lot of recipes in my notepad. And if you like coming to the gym once a week to not work out, you would really love coming to my small group. Because, we got this small group, and once a week we sit down over ice cream, and we talk about what it would look like if we actually exercised. It's really inspiring. It's cool stuff. And imagine you're listening to your friend, and you're like, did you fall and hit your head? Should you be wearing one of these helmets for your own safety? Like, what are you thinking? Why would you want to be part of that? And imagine your friend said, well, here's the best part about our gym, right? No sweat? No sweat. Okay, we don't do that around here. Here's the best part. If you come to my gym, North Park Gym, when you're feeling like the clothes don't fit right anymore, when you get to the top of the stairs and you're breathing really heavy, when I'm feeling kind of bad about my fitness level, I just reach into my wallet and I pull out my North Park Gym membership card and I tell myself, I believe in fitness. I identify as healthy. I belong in activewear. And then I feel a little bit less bad about being out of shape. It's really great. You should try it. Okay. Silly, right? Why in the world would you be part of a gym that you don't actually work out in, right? It's pointless. Anybody else like me? I've had a couple of gym memberships, and I'd never had them for very long because I found myself, I was so busy in life, I didn't actually go to the gym, and it's not doing you any good if you're not actually in there putting in the work. I'm sure you can figure out where we're going with all of this. A lot of times, American Christianity kind of treats following Jesus the same way. It's so convenient to just know that I'm saved and I'm saved by grace. And yes, I am saved by grace. And it feels good to know that I'm in the family. But we lose sight of the idea that being a Christian is not just being saved. It's actually about doing stuff. We're kicking off a new series today where I want to talk about what that looks like so that we can actually go and do it, so that we can actually benefit from being part of God's family. Because I think through the years, the church has kind of lost sight of some important things that the early church fathers had figured out. And I think there's some wisdom if we go back and dig and pull some of that into 2026. So I want to talk about it this series today. I just want to start by getting an idea of what it means in our heads when we talk about being a Christian, but really what it should mean for us and how we should approach it. See, if you're filling in blanks, if you got that fill in the blank stuff, or if you're doing it on your phone, you want to write this down. Christian is a very flexible term. It can mean a whole lot of different things. It can be applied in a whole lot of different ways, sometimes in kind of counterintuitive, complicated ways. And in order to figure out what it should mean to be a Christian, let's figure out what people mean when they say that in our society, because maybe some of those things are getting in the way and we need to just separate them out. For one, sometimes Christian in our society can be an adjective. Okay, you've all probably experienced this. Oh, this is not just a song; it's a Christian song. It's not just a radio station; it's a Christian radio station. It's not just a movie; it's a Christian movie. It's not just a fried chicken sandwich; it's a Christian fried chicken sandwich. To the glory of God. But don't expect to get it after church because we're closed. Okay, it's really sad. I understand. I get it. I support being in church. Okay, all of these different ways. Okay, it's an adjective and we use it sometimes, and that's not inherently bad. I don't think that's the main idea. Sometimes Christian can be more of an association. It's something that we just identify as. Somehow, still in 2026, the United States identifies as a Christian nation. The bill still says one nation under God. Now, sometimes you see stuff in Washington and you're like, really though? But we identify as that. The chicken sandwich company identifies as a Christian chicken sandwich company. This is a Christian organization. Buy stuff from us because that's how we label ourselves. Maybe that's how you've used it, but I don't think that's the main idea. Sometimes Christian is used to describe a certain belief system. You go to a secular university and take a religion class, and one of the religions that they will list is Christian. And it's labeled Christian because it has a few things in common. The Christian religion believes that the Hebrew God of the Old Testament is the real God, and that Jesus is the spokesperson for God and not Muhammad, and that the Bible is an important book. And sometimes Christian is just like this sterile, that's just a particular set of religious beliefs that one may hold. And none of those are inherently wrong or bad. I like Christian music, and I love Christian fried chicken sandwiches, and I want to be part of a nation that says we identify as a Christian nation and we have Christian values. But there's something that all of those definitions have in common that can cause us to kind of become the place there where we say, no sweat? No sweat. Don't worry about it. And that is that none of those definitions of Christian require you to do anything different. You don't have to act like Jesus to put on a shirt that says, Jesus. Somebody, your friend's like, oh, you like Reese's cups? No, it's not Reese's, it's Jesus. I bought it at the Christian bookstore, right? You don't have to act like a Christian to do that. You don't have to follow what Jesus said to do in order to associate as a Christian. You don't have to do what the Bible says in order to believe that the Bible is God's word. And a lot of people get those two things separated. But the trouble is, if they don't require you to do anything different, then they don't influence you to become anyone different. And what we have in our society, and I know you've seen it, is a bunch of people that have the branding of Christianity, but there's not actually any fruit of a Christian life inside of them. Think about this, okay? How many of you guys have ever seen a car, and it's less common than it used to be, but it's still there, with the little fish icon stick to the bumper? Anybody ever seen that? Right? The Christian fish deal. How many have ever been cut off in traffic by someone with the fish on their car? I have. It's really frustrating. Like, you should know better. Doesn't make them actually treat people the right way. Have you ever had a Christian friend who was judgmental and selfish and really unpleasant to be around, while you had non-Christian atheist friends that were just totally chill dudes who welcomed everybody? I have. Yeah. Okay. We are one nation under God. It may not feel that way if the one nation under God is blowing up your town because you're in a disagreement about oil prices. Okay. You have all of these different ways where you have the branding, but that's not really what it means to be a Christian. I know that some of you guys are super familiar with The Mandalorian. Some of you guys are like, I have no idea what the helmet and all of this. Let me give you a very short version so that you can win some more sci-fi nerd points. Okay? I love the TV show The Mandalorian because there's something neat about their culture that reflects, I think, what Christianity is supposed to be. You got these guys that have these neat metal helmets, but putting on the helmet doesn't make you a Mandalorian. Being born on the planet Mandalore doesn't make you a Mandalorian. These people, what makes them unique, what bands their culture together, is a shared set of values. It's a code of conduct that they live by. It's a creed that they all agree to. It's a way of life. People who weren't from there can become one of them, but only if they're willing to not only put the helmet on, but actually live like the people who wear the helmet. It's more than an association. It's a way of living. And I think one of the things that we lose sight of as modern day Christians is the way Jesus presented his church was more than an association. See, write this down in your notes. The early church used a different term for themselves. They called themselves followers of the way. Some of you guys are like, oh, now I get that this is the way. Yeah, okay, just connecting the dots in your mind. They didn't actually call themselves Christians. Interesting little piece of history. 6 times in the book of Acts, which is like the history book of the New Testament, 6 different times, followers of Jesus called themselves those who follow the way. That's how they branded. Instead of a Christian, you're like, oh, Zach is one of the followers of the way. Okay, I get it. The term Christian only shows up 3 times in the entire Bible. Did you know that? 2 of the times, it's from a person who has no familiarity with Jesus or his teaching at all, has no idea about the values, and is just trying to find some label to stick on these crazy people. And the 3rd time that the term shows up in the Bible, it's when Peter is writing to the church, and he's like, when those guys who have no idea what's going on make fun of you and call you Christians, don't be discouraged, just keep doing the right thing. And it doesn't mean that the term is bad. I'm not anti the term, and I'm not trying to get you to stop shopping at Christian bookstores or eating Christian chicken sandwiches. But what I want is to reconnect us with something that was important in the terminology in the early church, which is baked into the term followers of the way, is this idea that being part of that group involves doing stuff, involves actually living differently. That being saved is not an end goal, it's a starting point, and the rest of the time is doing something. Okay? Here's the next thing to write down, and this is going to seem silly, but it's actually important. Following Jesus requires following. Okay? If you're not actually following him, you're not really a follower of Jesus. You're a believer in Jesus. But a believer and a follower are not really the same thing. Anybody ever play follow the leader when you were a kid? Some of you guys, I know that's old. That's like, I'm barely old enough to still have we played outside with sticks and threw rocks, at stuff, okay? But back in the day, there was this game called Follow the Leader, and the person in charge, it was kind of like the basketball game where, if you can make this shot from here, okay, follow the leader, and they'd run a hop on 1 foot on the log, and then you had to do the same thing they did. And we get too comfortable sometimes being saved, and we're sitting here in the recliner, we're watching Jesus exercise, and we're like, man, that guy has really good form. I would never even attempt that, but good for you, man. Keep exercising. No sweat? No sweat. We're Christians. That's not the idea. Okay, I want you to look at the way that Jesus defined being a follower. He talked about it in Matthew chapter 7. Listen to what he says here, starting in verse 13. He says, go in through the narrow gate. Everybody say gate. This is going to be important in a minute. At home, you have to say that too, because I can't hear you, but the Holy Spirit can. Okay? So I compel you, be interactive. Okay? Say it, gate. Okay? Go in through the narrow gate, because the gate to hell is wide. And look at this. And the road, everybody say the road. It's important. Gate, road. Okay? He said the gate to hell is wide, and the road that leads to it is easy. And there are many who travel it. But the gate, here's that word again, The gate to life is narrow, and the way that leads to it is hard, and there are few people who find it. See, Jesus differentiates when he's talking about what does it mean to be part of my kingdom. He said, there are two things going on. I am the gate, so you need to enter through the gate, and then on the other side of the gate, there is a road, there's a way, there's a path. The gate is like step one, go through the proper gate. And then step two is now travel down the road. He said the road that leads to life, not the road that's immediately at life. There's this idea of forward motion. When he described, okay, and again, this is not like, well, I don't know about the scholars' interpretation of Jesus. This is Jesus himself explaining. Here's how it works, guys. I think too many times, and this has been me, man, I've been guilty of like sometimes unintentionally creating this. We have this narrow gate to life, be saved, and you will be on the path to heaven. And then there's this huge traffic jam right on the other side of the gate because everyone's like set up big tents, and we have like a concession stand, and we have like a little kiddie pool where your kids can splash in there while you're on the lazy river. And we have all of this built right on the other side of the gate. We're in, yes! Now we can relax. We don't have to do anything because Jesus paid it all to him I owe. And that's true. I don't have to do stuff in order to earn God's forgiveness and acceptance. But once I'm in the family, the expectation is now that you've entered the gate, it's time to walk on the path. See, Brenda put the first image up there, the gym, all right? I think if Jesus saw our North Park gym logo and he said, no sweat, he would say, guys, you're almost there. You're just missing a comma. Okay, put the next one up. Here's how I think it would be. No sweat. No sweat. Okay? It takes work. It's actually doing stuff. Being a Christian requires you to actually do stuff that Jesus taught. I think it would be incomprehensible to him that we would present Christianity as something that you just one time in church, you pray this prayer, then you keep doing exactly what you've been doing your whole life, but God puts a stamp on you, and when you're done, you get to heaven. You're missing so much of the point. It's a way, it's a creed, it's a code, it's a way of life. And the truth is, when Jesus presents this idea of there are two gates, there are two roads, one of them, he says, is really wide and really easy. One of them is a narrow gate, and the way, he says, is hard. It takes work. That tells me two things. Number one, everybody is on one path. Everybody's on a road. So you're either following his way, or at the present time, you're following yours. And if he defines it this way, if he says the road that leads toward hell is easy, then if I am not, through God's help, with the Holy Spirit's help, if I am not at all constraining what I do, if I'm not at all changing what I act or how I treat people based on being a Christian, then I'm probably not walking along his way. I'm probably walking along mine. You can be a believer in Jesus, but it doesn't make you a follower. Listen, I say this a lot, but it's true. Every demon in hell believes that Jesus is the only Son of God who was crucified for the sins of the world, came back to life on the third day, and is resurrected and at the Father's right hand in heaven. Every demon in hell believes that. Believing doesn't change you. Following Jesus is the pathway through which you are changed and taking on the character of God. It's important. And so we need, as Christians, as followers of the way, we need to reconnect with this idea that it means doing stuff. Not doing stuff so that we can be saved, doing stuff now that we are saved. So you write this down. Christianity is a journey of doing with the goal of becoming. As we do the stuff, we become somebody different. Now, I know some of you guys, and we talked about this a few weeks ago, some of you guys, you joined the gym, you did the stuff for a few weeks, and you're like, this is not working. I am really sweaty and I just want to go home. What's the point if I'm not getting anywhere? And sometimes you have to really stick with it for a really long time to see any gains. But doing the stuff consistently changes you. If you consistently eat junk food, you're at this health level. And if you consistently eat healthy food, you're at this health level. And one junk food thing doesn't ruin your health, and one celery and apples lunch doesn't fix it. It's a consistent way of life. And Christianity works the same way. See, slapping a bumper sticker on your car doesn't change your life. I love how Jesus, the details matter on this kind of stuff. Jesus says the path to hell, the road to hell, is wide, and a lot of people are on it. And he could have said the way to heaven is, the gate is narrow and the path is hard, but he didn't. Do you remember what he said? He said the road to life, which conveys something really different. The reward of being a Christian is not all stockpiled in heaven. Now, Jesus also said, if you do the right thing, sometimes you're not rewarded in this life, but there's great reward for you in heaven, and that's true. But the value of God being part of your life is not just when you die, it's having God part of your life today. And that stuff is built into your life as you take those steps and you walk down the road. Christianity is one big decision followed by thousands and thousands of little ones. Step, 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 step. And those little ones are unique to you. Okay, what does that look like, Chris? What are you talking about? I know the big decision, right? Yes, I received Jesus as my Savior. God, forgive me of my sins. Come into my life, wash me clean, all of that stuff. I know most of you today, part of God's family, and you had that one big decision at some point in your life. But Jesus presented it like it's the gate. He said, that's the gate to get onto the road, and now the road is what you walk. And it's thousands of little decisions. Little decisions. What do you mean, Chris? I mean things like when you've been working all day and you're tired and you just want to fire up the Xbox and shoot bad guys for a little while, but your wife really wants to connect with you because she hasn't seen you all day. It means choosing in that moment to pause the game and put down the controller and eat just 10 minutes and look that woman in the eyes and say, let's talk about our day. Well, I don't really feel like it. Okay. But loving people is putting somebody else's needs above your own. By the way, she's also been doing stuff all day. She's also tired. It's easy to lose sight of that when you're so self-centered. It means stuff like that. It might mean that when that friend of yours who you thought was a friend goes and tells everybody else a really distorted version of what you actually said, now everyone thinks you're a jerk. How could he say that? You're like, that's not what I said at all. That's totally out of context. And you have enough dirt on this friend to just absolutely destroy them. I'm going to tell everybody all the stuff I know about them. It's choosing in that crisis moment to say, you know what? I could destroy them, but that's not what Jesus would have me do. I know his teaching said if someone slaps you on one cheek, turn the other. I'm going to choose not to take revenge. Instead, I'm going to choose the higher road. Ooh, that's hard. But it's stuff like that. Sometimes it means that when that person in work calls off again and they ask you, can you work late to cover their shift? And you know that the reason they called off again is because they're terrible planners, or they're just lazy, or they overslept, or something. You know it's their fault. And on your desk, you have the little sign that says, your failure to plan does not constitute my emergency. You ever seen that? I love those signs. Okay? But it means in that moment, taking that sign and pushing it down and saying, it's not my fault. I shouldn't have to do it, but I know that God has called me to do for others what I want them to do for me. That's what Jesus said his followers would be like. And if I'm a follower, now if I'm a believer in Jesus, I don't have to do it. I can be like, bro, it's not my problem. You should fire him. He's lazy. But if I'm a follower of Jesus, it means following. It might mean being the first person to choose to apologize when you know that 80% of the stuff was their fault. And they will probably never apologize for their 80%. And the 20% that was your fault only happened because they did stuff first. It's choosing to do these things, and that's hard. But Jesus said that the way that leads to life is hard. Going to the gym and actually lifting stuff is hard. But when your muscles get stronger, even if they're not bigger yet, when they get stronger, you're more capable to do the things that life requires of you. And here's what happens when you do. Jesus says this, Matthew 7:24 and 25. Okay, so he just talked about following the way, come in the gate and then walk. And then he says this, anyone who listens to my teaching, and look at this, and follows it. Notice the specificity here. A lot of people are listening to his teaching. Yeah, that guy's smart. I want to show you something unique, he says, just for those who follow my teaching. Anyone who listens is wise, like a person who builds a house on solid rock. Though the rain comes in torrents, and the floodwaters rise, and the winds beat against that house. Okay, right here, let me just stop and look at that for a minute. Being a Christian, Jesus says, does not insulate you from the storms in life. It doesn't insulate you from bad stuff happening. It doesn't insulate you from stuff that's not your fault. It shouldn't happen to you. It does, because this isn't heaven. He says, those who listen to my teaching and follow it, when the same bad kind of stuff happens to them that happens to everyone else, look at what happens to them. Their house won't collapse because it's built on bedrock. He said, here's what's different. You respond differently to the crises of life. And when those things come that should destroy you, you somehow, and we know how, you somehow carry on and still have vibrancy and a rich, full life, even when your bank account says you should not enjoy life. Some of you, you've been in that season. You're laughing because you're like, I'm here right now. Why are you not depressed? Okay. Even when you did everything that you could try to do to repair that relationship with your grown children, and they don't want anything to do with you. You say, shouldn't you hate Christmas time? You say, I remember the time when Jesus was born. I have joy in my heart. I have love. And yes, that hurts, but I hope we're reunited. It's when you lose somebody close to you and you grieve. But you don't grieve like those who have no hope. You grieve differently because God has built those muscles in you, not microwaved in the moment, but one step on the road at a time. There's so much value that we miss. If we treat church like North Park Gym, no sweat, no sweat. We miss it. And that's what I want us to do this summer. I want us to focus on returning to this idea that following Jesus requires following. This idea that when we come here together to worship together, that we're inspiring one another when we're talking before and after service. And when you have a need and Jerry and Peggy and Frank and Pam are praying with you, that you inspire one another to do good things. And when you hear this lesson, you're like taking good notes. That's good. But then on Thursday afternoon, we actually do it. And it benefits our life. That's the kind of living that we need. And as we wrap this talk up today, I want you to think about this. And really think, this is not just this is just between you and the Lord. I want you to think, when is the last time that your commitment to following Christ caused you to change the words that you chose to speak to somebody else? Think about that for a minute. Or the tone with which you spoke them. When's the last time that you were ready to just fire and just hip fire somebody, but in the moment you said, wait a minute, no, I'm a follower of Christ, and I know that that's not the life that he's called me to? When's the last time when everything in you wanted to say no to helping somebody because you were already overloaded with stuff? But your commitment to Christ caused you to say yes. When's the last time that everything in you wanted to say yes to getting even because you deserve it, but your commitment to Christ caused you to say, no, I'm going to choose to forgive them because, man, God has forgiven me of so much. When's the last time that the commitment of Christ caused you to say, wait, when everything in you said, I want this now, but getting it now means cutting some corners that you know you shouldn't do. And the real reward and the wisdom is when you save for that thing instead, when you save sex for marriage instead, when you save trying to get the success and you do it God's way instead of trying to cut corners. When's the last time that being a Christian changed what you do? Think about it. Actually, legitimately, see if you can remember it. And as somebody who loves you and is cheering you on and is also sometimes walking great and sometimes tripping up and stumbling and crawling along the path, it's hard sometimes. I've had some moments where I'm like, Lord, why is it such a struggle to do stuff your way? It's because the broken part in me is fighting against the Holy Spirit's influence in me. I have to lean into his help. This is not a try harder thing. This is a listen closer thing. But when was the last time that actually made a difference? And if the honest answer is, Chris, I don't know, then I want you to consider this not an accusation, not a rebuke, but an invitation as someone who has stepped through the gate that leads to life, as someone who has accepted the Father's gift of forgiveness, as someone who believes that Jesus is the Son of God and has pledged your life to following him. Consider this today as an invitation to follow along the road. Because I don't just want to be a believer in Jesus who is spiritually emaciated and who is missing the value of friendship with God. I want to be one who believes in Jesus and then follows Jesus and that enjoys the smile of God upon the path of life until I'm with him in heaven. And I want that for you. What a difference that would make if all of us this summer really committed to putting our feet to our belief and following well. That's what it means. That's what it should mean to be a Christian. That is the way. Hey there, just wanted to take a minute to say thanks for watching. If a friend sent you this link, it's because they believe what we talked about today is going to make a positive impact in your life. And if it did, there's probably somebody that you care about who could benefit from it. So take a minute to share this video with somebody. Post it to your timeline or send them a direct link. And if you're able, take a minute to give using the link at the bottom of the description on this video. One last thing. Maybe you feel a tug at your soul and you're ready to take the next step in your spiritual life and form a relationship with God. We've got folks here who would love to talk with you about it. So just text prayer to the number on your screen and we'll follow up with you. It's also in the description on this video in case that helps. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.